We're doing this, but I'm going to be doing more orally on this side. Yeah, we have, yeah. Okay, so actually, we're going to continue discussing something from the Mimer, but I'll try to do it in a way that those of you from the tiny class will be able to understand it as a subject in itself, but it's something in Chassidus. So, what we were learning in the Mimer was explaining the order of the davening, and is talking about the difference between the first part of the davening, and especially the Shema, and then the part of the davening which is the Shemona Esrei, the Amida. And in this Maimer, he's comparing all of the davening to it's related to a prophecy, where that prophecy, it describes an apartment that has 4 pieces of furniture, a bed, a menorah, a chair, and a table. And he explains what that is in terms of serving Hashem. That is a service of Hashem which is associated with the bed, table, menorah, and a chair. And the last 2 things was the chair and the menorah. And he explains how the chair alludes to the Shema, and the menorah alludes to Shemona Esrei. So this is what we're going to go into. What is the difference between the first part of the davening in general and Shemona Esrei, which is the Amida? So the thing that you could see explicitly is that the Amida is the only part of the davening that has to be quiet. And the other parts of the davening, you can daven it out loud. In many places, people sing parts of the davening loud. But Shemona Esrei is supposed to be standing, and you're supposed to be speaking to Hashem, but softly and quietly. So he's going to explain how that is related to the menorah. What is the connection between that and menorah? Menorah, which is as the son explained, is alluding to like the menorah in the Beis Hamikdash. So the general difference is whether it's quiet or there's a lot of noise. What does it mean in terms of serving Hashem? We started explaining this yesterday, that davening is all about developing our emotional bond with Hashem, which generally means love and awe and fear of Hashem. The practical part of Yiddishkeit is the do's and the don'ts. But where is it and when is it that we have developed this emotional bond with Hashem, that we have a deep feeling of love for Him, and we have a feeling of awe for Him? That's primarily in davening. There are many levels in love. Generally speaking, you would say the levels are how deep it is. But there are 2 categories of love for Hashem, meaning that we find that in the Torah, when it talks about love for Hashem, sometimes it uses the metaphor of fire, and sometimes it uses the metaphor of water. In other words, just like fire is on fire, love is where a person's feelings and emotions are on fire for Hashem, that they're on fire for Hashem with a passion and a love. Water means just like water flows, that's how the person flows towards Hashem. But of course, it's only a metaphor, and there's a lot of depth to this metaphor. What is the difference between the 2 loves? So the way it's explained in the Chassidus is that, generally speaking, just like physically, fire is something which is big commotion going on. There's a fire burning, and there's a lot happening. Water is something which is calm and settled, and you don't see that. That means that there was one kind of love where there is a lot of emotion, excitement, and there's another kind of love which is very calm and settled and it's not so emotional, and it's not so stormy. There's no storm going on. There's no thunder and lightning. On the surface, it would appear to be that the one that is stormy means that it's a much greater love. That's why there's so much commotion going on. When you see a person that has love for Hashem and it's calm and quiet and settled, obviously it means that his love for Hashem is a little bit, just relaxed. It's not such a stormy love, not such a strong love. But what he's going to explain here is, and that's also true sometimes, but here's going to explain how the love like water is actually a love that's deeper and greater than the love like fire. And that's what's going on in davening. The first part of davening is where one develops the love like fire. The Shmona Esrei, that's where one develops the love like water. So in fact, the fact that it's quiet, and there is no noise, and there is no storm, and there is no thunder and lightning, that actually is an indication of something greater. We'll explain this because really it's not just about this mimer, it's not only about love for Hashem, it's really a general concept. So I want to explain the whole concept. I know we spoke about it briefly, I think in the Pirkei Avos class, but it doesn't matter, could always do it again, and definitely elaborate on it more. Let me first give out this sheet for starters, if you don't mind. Thank you. This sheet is a Pasuk in Chumash, Parsha Shmos. It's the story of how Moshe went up to the mountain, got the luchos, and then they didn't worship the golden calf. So at the end, he broke the luchos, and later Hashem gave a second set of luchos, which was on the day of Yom Kippur. So let's look at the Rashi. I underlined it. It's number 3. And look what Rashi says. No one shall ascend with you. This is Hashem speaking to Moshe. No one else should go up with you on the mountain. Since the first ones, meaning the first tablets, were accompanied by loud noises and loud sounds, with a multitude, the evil eye affected them. The second set of luchos was given quietly. And these are Rashi's words. Our conclusion is there's nothing better than modesty. Who would ever think to use the word modesty when you're talking about the luchos? You're not talking about a person. You're not talking about how a person is dressed. You're talking not about a person doing things. You're talking about the luchos, the 2 tablets that had inscribed in it the 10 commandments. What does it mean that here we see the greatness of modesty? But what we do see is that because the first set of luchos was given with a lot of noise, eventually it didn't last, it was broken. The second set of luchos, because it was given quietly, that's why it lasted. Which means, again, it shows us how there's something greater in the fact that it's quiet. I'm going to explain. I just want to first just bring the sources. And here is another source. If I can bother you, Yael, again. These are 2 sheets. I just like when you can see these things inside 2 sheets. 1, 2. Thank you. So the first sheet we're going to do is the one which is Gemara. That's the one that has this box in the middle, where it tells a story. And this story is similar to what we're talking about now. The top of the page, it says, the Gemara relates, Rav Sheshet was blind. Rav Sheshet was one of the sages of the Talmud. Everyone was going to greet the king. And Rav Sheshet stood there and went along with them. There was a heretic means somebody who didn't believe and ridicule Torah, and of course Torah scholars. He found them and said to him, the intact jugs go to the river? Where do the broken jugs go? In other words, he was sort of making fun of him. When you have a jug that's in good condition, you take it to the river to fill it up with water. But broken jugs, they can't hold water. Why would you take that to the river? Meaning, he said to him, being that you're blind, where are you coming for? What are you coming for? You can't see the king. What are you coming for? So Shesha said to him, come see that I know more than you do. Okay. They're standing on waiting. The first troops pass. And there's a lot of noise, meaning a lot of music. And the heretic said to him, the king is coming. In other words, straighten out, the king is coming. And he said to him, no, the king is not coming. Then a second group passed. And the noise was even louder. I guess the music was louder. The drums were louder. And the heretic said, okay, now the king is coming. And Reb Shesha said, no, the king is not coming. Then the third group came, and it was quiet. Then Reb Shesha turned to him and said, now the king is coming. And he was shocked. So the heretic said to him, how did you know? In other words, he's the one that sees and didn't realize. He's the one that's blind and he knew. So he said to him, royalty on earth is like royalty in the heavens. With regards to Hashem, revelation to Eliyahu the prophet, there's a story in Tanakh that Hashem appeared to the prophet Eliyahu on a mountain, Har Horeb. And Hashem said to him, go forth and stand on the mountain before Hashem. On the other side, of course, you see the Hebrew. Then it said, Hashem passed by, and a great strong wind rent the mountains and broke in pieces the rocks. But Hashem was not in the wind. After the wind came an earthquake, but Hashem was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake came a fire, but Hashem was not in the fire. And after that, there was a still small voice, and it was so when Eliyahu heard it, and he rapped, and then it says in the Hebrew, and that was Hashem coming through. So Hashem was not coming through when there was winds, not when there was earthquakes, and not when there was a fire, but when it was quiet. That's when Hashem came through. And the other sheet is just the pasuk. You can see here, this is the pasuk, where it is in Tanakh, in Malachim. And Hashem passes in a great strong wind, splitting mountains, shattering boulders. Hashem was not there. And after the wind, an earthquake, not the earthquake. Then you turn the page. On the other side, I see some copies. Are they all like that? Both the same thing on both sides? Or just mine?
No, ours is different.
Oh, you have the same thing on both sides. Oh no, right, here on top of the page. The top line. After all that noise, after the earthquake, the fire, and after that, there was a still small sound, and that was Hashem. So, just to explain, what is this about? Like, why? What does it have to do with the noise or not noise? Here we see again, there's wind, or in the case of the story, there were ministers obviously passing by. And when the ministers passed by, there was a lot of noise, a big commotion. When there were bigger ministers coming, there was a bigger commotion. And when the bigger ministers come, there was a bigger commotion. So you expect when the king comes, it should be the super commotion. When the king comes, it's quiet. And same with Hashem. Obviously, when it says there was a fire and there was a wind and there was an earthquake, these also sort of angels that Hashem sent. And when they came, there was a lot of noise and a lot of things happening. There was a lot of drama happening. And when Hashem walked by, it was quiet. So the answer is that the principle behind this matter is that the deeper and the greater and the more truthful something is, the quieter it is. And the more something is superficial, those are the things that need a lot of noise. Explain what I mean. When something is not emes, when something is not absolute truth, then it needs others to recognize and acknowledge that this has substance. Of course, in essence, it has no substance. So if someone wants to create and fabricate some lie, it never happened. Like, unfortunately, we're hearing today blood libels. against Jews here or Jews there, or people who fabricated the lie that the Holocaust never happened. What makes this bigger? The more people that believe in it makes it bigger. The less people believe in it makes it smaller. Why? Because to begin with, it's not something that's really true. The only thing that gives it substance is that people believe in it and people accept it. And therefore, the more people accept it, the more substance it has. And if less people accept it, it has less substance. If nobody would accept it, it would have no substance whatsoever. But something which is true is different. Take a simple concept like 2 + 2 = 4. So imagine if it would be, hypothetically speaking, you can take every single whiteboard in the world and every single textbook in the world and erase this equation that 2 + 2 = 4. It's not written anywhere on the planet Earth. Does the truth of 2 + 2 = 4 become any less? Right. Imagine we printed another 700 million, billion, trillion books. 2 + 2 = 4. Is this concept any bigger and stronger? No, it makes no difference. Why? Because it has nothing to do with how much it spreads out. It is what it is because it's true. So, relatively speaking, this applies to different things on different levels, that the more depth something has and the more truth something has, the less there's a need for it to spread out. And the more something is not as deep, there's a need for it to spread out. The spreading out makes it bigger. Of course, there's a big difference between things that are totally not true, like a fabrication, or things that are true but not on the same level of depth. But the general principle is that the deeper something is, and the more depth and substance it has, the less there's a need for it to spread out. So, for example, and that means that what validates me is because it's true. I don't need things outside of me to validate me. So, for example, the Shulchan Aruch begins, one of the first things in the Code of Jewish Law is that Al Yizbayis B'Hem Aligim. It starts off with learning from 4 animals, from the leopard, from the deer, from the lion, and from an eagle. And what do we learn from the leopard? To be bold, to be courageous. And what does it mean to be courageous? Don't be intimidated by people that laugh at you. Which means there's one person that is learning Torah, doing mitzvahs, leading his life in an environment which is sort of not so friendly to that, but nevertheless, they're strong. Nothing changes. And there's someone else that, because there are people there that don't really approve of what I'm doing and they don't like what they see, or they make some comments, I start sort of doing less or not doing things the way I'd like to do them because I'm affected by what people say. So the difference is when something is really strong and deep within inside me, then no matter what's going on outside, it's not going to affect me. But if within me it's shaky, then when people outside, what does it mean? That means I need the validation of people outside of me to say what you're doing is okay. And if I don't, then I don't feel so strong about what I'm doing. That means that there's a weakness in what I'm doing. What I'm doing is not as deep. That's the same principle. So generally speaking, we find that one of the things which are a big difference between the Torah way of seeing things and the secular way of seeing things is the idea of modesty. And when something is sort of not loud, I don't mean only, again, in sneakers and clothing, but like Rashi says about the luchas, that the first set of luchas was loud. There was a big commotion. There was thunder. There was lightning. It shook up the whole world, which is because of something great. The second luchas didn't shake up the whole world, not because it's not as great. On the contrary, it's something greater and something deeper. And therefore, the fact that it didn't shake up the whole world means that its greatness and its deepness is totally unconditional, independent of what goes on outside. Like very often people judge things, but how many people follow this? 1,000 people, 2,000 people, 1,000,000 people. What does it say in the Torah? Atem ha'ma'at min kol ha'amim, that the Jewish nation is the smallest in the world. That doesn't change anything. The whole world, there are 70 nations with millions and today billions of people, and we're the smallest. But if what I'm doing is emes, it doesn't matter that it's not as big as everything else. So in Torah, we find that in the secular world, one of the ways of showing respect. I remember years ago, here when I was growing up, you had to sign up to the army unless you had an exemption. And I was going off to Australia, so I went in to get the permission to leave the country because of the army. And I walked in, that me was 6 of us, 6 Bachrim. We walked in, and whoever was sitting by the desk started to scream at us, take off your hats. Respect. So respect here is taking off your hat, uncovering your head. In the Torah, respect is just the opposite, covering your head. It's considered an avera to walk into the Beis Hamikdash for a Kohen without a head covering. And it's not as severe, but right now, surely this is the custom. You go into a shul, you're making a bracha, you're doing something holy, your head should be covered. And the same thing with so many other things in holiness, like the holiest thing in the shul is what? What's the holiest? The Sefer Torah. Where is it located?
No.
It's behind, it's in a closet, the doors are closed. Not only that, inside it's covered, it's rolled up, it's not open. And on top of that, there's a little covering, and then it's behind closed doors. We only take it out when we need to. The fact that it's hidden is not because there's something embarrassing there, because there's something there that is inappropriate. On the contrary, this is the Torah, this is the source of everything. It's hidden because of its holiness. In the Beis Hamikdash, which is the holiest place in the world, the holiest place in the Beis Hamikdash was Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Holy of Holies. And over there, it's even more than the Sefer Torah in a shul. No one walked in there an entire year. Not one single person was allowed to enter. It was totally closed off from everybody else. It was hidden. And the only one who could walk in there was the Kohen Gadol, the high priest. And even he can only walk in once a year on Yom Kippur. On that day, he was able to walk in a few times. And that was it. So the fact that it's hidden and it's blocked and no one can see it, no one can go there, again, this is the holiest item in the world. But on the contrary, dafka, because it's holy, therefore it's hidden. In Torah was given over 3,300 years ago, and there's one part of Torah that for thousands of years was hidden and weren't on the level that we're permitted to study that part of Torah. What part of Torah is it? Kabbalah, the hidden secrets of Torah. Things that we find in the Zohar, Sefer Yetzirah, things that we study now in Chassidus, which means the fact that it's from the holiest part of Torah, that was the reason why it's meant to be hidden, not the opposite. This reminds me of another thing. Next week is going to be, yeah.
All these things are supposed to be quiet and hidden. Why now are we revealing the sinners everywhere? And why now are we seeing more of an uprising of Jews not just sheltering and going out and being proud and
I'll explain that. I'm getting there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on the agenda.
Okay.
In next week's parsha, it's called Ba'aloscha. It talks about lighting the menorah, the actual menorah lighting. And it says that Aaron lit the menorah, and then it says Moshe told Aaron what to do, and Aaron did exactly as he was told. So Rashi says, why does it say those words that he did exactly what he was told? What would you think? Rashi says this is to show us and praise Aaron that he did exactly as he was told. He didn't make any changes. And you say to yourself, that's the greatness of Aaron, Moshe Rabbeinu's brother, who knew that Moshe hears everything from Hashem, and the fact that he did exactly as we told him, make changes, Why would you expect him to make changes if Hashem tells him this is the way to do it? So one of the explanations are that when a person does a mitzvah, and especially a mitzvah like lighting the menorah in the Beis Hamikdash, and someone like Aaron knew and understood what is being accomplished by doing it spiritually, how it's changing the world, changing all the spiritual worlds, changing everything in this physical world, that should bring a person normally to such emotion, to such excitement, to such a high that it should be technically very difficult to do things right. Something would go wrong because you're just so emotional. And therefore the oil will spill, or something will be knocked over, or you forget to do something, or you do something more than you're supposed to, only because you're so emotionally involved. And we see with ourselves, like if you're very excited about something and you're running somewhere to do something, a lot of interesting things happen that you forget to do, and you forgot to take this. I'm running to the airport, and on the way there, you realize I forgot to take my passport. How could you forget to take your passport? You're going to the airport because you're so excited, and you have to make the plane on time. So because you're so excited, you're not so concentrated, and things are not so settled. The greatness of Aaron was that even though he understood what the menorah is all about, on the highest, deepest levels, nevertheless, he was on a level that outwardly he was totally calm. And therefore, he did everything exactly as he was told. There was absolutely no change in anything that he did, because whatever he experienced was internalized to the deepest level. Like an example of what's love like fire and love like water, and where we see that it's deeper, is the difference between the love that exists between family members, let's say parents and children, and brothers and sisters, and the love between husband and wife. The love between husband and wife is a stormy love. Two people meet and they're in love with each other, and that's a love that there's a lot of thunder and lightning going on. What about the love between brothers and sisters? The love between parents and children? Not only that, what about self-love? That's the highest kind of love. You ever find people jumping up and down, getting all excited because they love themselves? You don't have to tell me if it ever happens to you, but generally speaking, people don't do that. They don't look in the mirror and are like falling all over themselves. They not love themselves. On the contrary, this love is unconditional love. It's the deepest love. So why isn't there a storm? These are two people that met each other at a certain point in life. Not only that, unfortunately, not always does it last forever. Sometimes it falls apart. And yet their love is so much more stormy than those people that have this unconditional love that's always going to be there forever, because it's very deep. It's family. And the answer is, that's the answer. Because it is so deep, because it's inherent that parents love their children, a brother loves a sister, because it's so deep and part of me. Therefore, that's why there's no storm, because this is where two people are so much one that there's no storm. When it's something outside of me, something not as deep, that's when there's a storm. There's a story in Gemara that Hillel Hazakian had 80 students. And the Gemara says each one of these students were giants, spiritual giants, great Torah scholars. The greatest of all the students, his name was Yonasan ben Uzziel. This is commentaries found printed in Chumashim. And the Gemara says he was so great that when he studied Torah, he was so on fire that if a bird flew over his head, it got singed. Literally, physically. So someone once asked, if that's what happened when the student studied Torah, what happened when the teacher studied Torah? Was there like an explosion? So the answer is, when the teacher studied Torah and a bird flew over his head, it didn't get singed. In other words, it was so deep, there wasn't any fire burning outside of him. It was all internalized. You also see difference among, and that's not chas v'shalom, one is true, one is not true. It's different levels of depth. Like the luchas, they're both luchas. Them gave the Torah, but one is it's a different level of depth, and relatively speaking, this one is deeper, so it's without the noise, and this one is not as deep. Therefore, there is that noise that comes along with it because it's not as deep. So you asked the question, if that's the question, and I want to give another example, is that there are, among the Hasidic Rebbes, when they used to daven, the masters of Hasidus, they were very emotional and very excited. And a lot of them, when they daven, they would clap their hands, they would jump up and down, bang on the table. Some of them would start dancing in the middle of davening. The Chabad Rebbes, if you ever saw a video of the Rebbe davening, is very calm, can hardly see movement. Why? So the reason why they were all the way they were, clapping their hands and jumping up and down and doing all these movements, because they were very excited and very emotional. Like the once told about Shem Tov that there were people that were observing this and they were laughing. It looked to them very funny. The Baal Shem Tov said, I'll give you a mashal. Imagine a person who was born, unfortunately, deaf, never in his life heard any sound. And for the first time in his life, happened to walk in to a wedding hall. He looks around and he sees people doing very funny things. This guy's throwing his arms this way, this one's arm that way, this one's turning around, and this one's running back and forth. They're all off the wall. What are they doing? What are they doing? Nobody's normal here. Why? He doesn't hear the music. He just sees the movements, so it looks like it's crazy. But if you hear the music, not only is that crazy, you actually see the beauty of how the movements are, go together with the music. Beautiful. So Hashem said, they don't see the music, they see the movement, so to them it looks very, very strange. But how can it be that someone should be a tzaddik? And certainly when they're davening, they're also very emotional. How can it be that they should be standing so calm as if nothing's going on? And the answer is because that's the love like fire, like water. The love like fire is the love that comes with a storm. And the love like water is the love that comes in a way which is calm. And that means that when a person connects to Hashem on a level, that their bond is an indication that it's not as deep. Of course, there's sometimes where it's totally external and there's no depth to it at all. And sometimes it's just different levels of depth. So in the Beis Hamikdash, there were two fires burning. One fire was the fire of the Mizbeach, and that was wood burning. The other fire was the fire of the menorah. In the outside part of the Beit HaMikdash, the outside chamber was the Mizbeach. And that was a fire that was a noisy fire. Why was it noisy? Because wood was burning. The fire in the more internal chamber, that's where the menorah was burning. And that was a very quiet, settled flame, like a menorah, like the Shabbos candles, like the Hanukkah menorah candles. So it says that these two fires represent the two levels of love. Love like fire and love like water. This is a calm love and this is a stormy love. And basically, it means that when you're burning wood, what the noise that's taking place, the noise that you hear is the wood sort of burning. The wood is you ever heard this expression? I'm sure we spoke about it in the Pirkei Avos class. It's in Gemara. Sounds like Chinese, but it's in Gemara. Istere belagina kishkish karya, which means uh, um, an empty box with just a few coins makes a lot of noise. So if you take a pushka and you put 2 coins in it and you shake it, it makes a lot of noise. According to that, if you take a pushka and you fill it up to the top and you shake it, it should make so much more noise. No, if it's full, it doesn't make noise. This is the same principle and the same idea, and that's what goes on in davening. The first part of davening is the love like fire. The second part of davening is love like water. But now the question is, what's the advantage of love like water? I understand. It means I reach a level of love where I and Hashem become so much one that it becomes quiet and calm. What is the advantage of love like fire? So the answer is, we just raised this question, why do we make so much noise, go out with a tank or other things that are done with a lot of singing and dancing in the streets? Why is this done when we say that modesty is the right way to go? And you don't need the noise, you don't need the outside. And the answer is because we want to reach people that are outside. On a personal level, internal level is the same thing. The purpose of davening is that not only my nefesh elokis should be on fire with love for Hashem, also my nefesh habahamis. When the love is a love like fire, which means it's a noisy love, it's a stormy love, that'll move even the animal soul within me. The other love, even though it's a great love, but because it's so internal and deep, it's not going to move my nefesh habahamis. Just like here, if I would learn Torah quietly in my home or in my shul, and I would be doing great, but outside, nobody could be inspired by what I'm doing because they're there and I'm here. So in order to reach Nefesh Bahamis, the animal soul is an external sort of type of existence, and it needs noise. That's what it relates to. That's what makes it excited. These are the things that Nefesh Bahamis is able to relate to: the noise and the commotion and the drama and the external things. So therefore, by having the kind of love that's love like fire that reaches the Nefesh Bahamis on an external level, that will lift and inspire the animal part within me. And after that, we come to the higher level, which is love like water. That's the Shemona. That's the menorah. And even though we're not great tzaddikim, but these two levels are, everyone has them relatively in everybody's small world. You have both things. Okay, I think we'll stop here. This Emily will come teach the second level. I hope she's coming. And now we'll teach level 1, the Mashiach of Buddha.
Really cold. Yeah, I don't know what was that? Probably because I used a lot of us. Good morning. Hi, I haven't seen you in a long time. I know. Oh, you're younger for so much. No? No, we say, yeah. But I didn't see you at the restaurant.
Where would we
No, I
have seen
was
your
here
Shavuos?
twice. What? I was here twice on the Shavuos.
Where would we have seen your Shavuos?
What do you mean? I was on the side of the house. I was in.
We weren't. You had a break.
What do you mean? I was in the dorms by the grand.
Yeah, I was there. Do you know what?
I was there what?
Oh.
But you came late. You were like outside or something.
Did I see you?
You were outside. I saw you like walk.
I did see you. I remember now.
And then you, I didn't see you. Yeah. And I was there by the milk and while I was there.
Oh, I was there.
I was there like for many hours.
Oh yeah. Many hours. Oh, I'm going crazy.
It's okay. It was like a year ago.
Exactly. Controlling on me. Wow.
Yes, not good.
Yeah. Are you gonna go on? Uh-huh. No, I'm gonna go on. Oh, okay. So let's walk together. Yes. My goodness. We've been learning the Sivan for 2 years. Literally. And I wasn't here the first when we started it, so I don't have the paper. I don't even know. I don't know. I have the paper like that. Cold and my favorite thing. And what between from this room? Ah, yes. Like what? Like you didn't go into the mama? You didn't? No, he did it outside. Like from Tanya or something? No, also it was like subject related to the minor, but it wasn't. Yeah, you understood that. Yeah. Well, what was he gave something? Yeah, he gave papers for tomorrow.
This is what he gave. It's something to get I don't think there's one from Mrs. Allen. Rooms piled up. What does it look like? The one that was stitching. Okay. From the house. And the front, can I see the front picture?
I'm sure that it's probably familiar.
I know. What is this?
What is it? It's healthy. Is it delicious? Yeah, coconuts. Amazing. That's healthy. It's you want one?
What is it?
It's cookies. Oh wait, she's
I
gluten free.
definitely can't have it.
Oh right, sorry.
No, just like.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like
not
brown.
healthy.
Whoa. It tastes good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Did
you make them?
I hope I'm not allergic. No, my sister made it, so she got.
That's so cute.
Yeah, I remember. I really hope I'm not allergic.
It wasn't.
It was like a camping, like you go with tents, but you can have. Isn't that crazy? Like in America, like in different like if they travel, that is everything. It's so crazy. She's so old, but she's like she's so much better. Like how old is she? I don't know. But she looks like 70. Right. Yeah, she is. And then Mushka was there, and once like everyone goes near hands near ski. Mamushka? Mm-hmm. Oh. I told her, I would go. We should go to her house. She lives there in the summer. Yeah, with her. Good, no? It's falling out of my mouth. Yeah, it's the. No coffee, did you get? Try to fit little. Have some shots. Can I try? Mm-hmm. Cold. Oh yeah. You don't want to try if it's cold? I know.
Oh, it's so quiet.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
How's everyone doing?
Should I play my music?
Yes. Oh, good. Oh, good music.
It usually works. Oh, because when I start playing it progress.
You have it.
Wake up.
It's a beautiful day. It's sunny.
Beautiful day.
We'll have fun.
It works every time.
Really?
I met this song in the C team.
Magic. I literally told you.
She's coming?
Yeah.
Whoa, that's. Oh, no.
Oh.
No, she's not there.
Wow.
Wow.
Happy morning.